Morning, everybody. How are you all doing? Sammy, United People's TV. It is the build-up to the Champions League tonight. Manchester United, of course, in action away at Bayern Munich. Yes, it is a baptism of fire in the Champions League for Erik Ten Hag. I'm looking forward to it. As bad as United are playing right now, there's no way that you can't not look. That's a double negative. But surely you're looking forward to watching United in the Champions League. Well, maybe not. We're going to run through, of course, all the build-up. Ten Hag speaking in his press conference yesterday, speaking about injuries, speaking about Haaland and Rashford, speaking about a few things, and we'll run through it. I did my starting 11 yesterday. We're going to run through that. It's a really weird starting 11 that I did. I know it was weird, and I'm looking back at it, and it's still weird. And I don't really know, I'll be honest, because of the squad that's going, which is, let's be honest, we'll run through that. We'll also run through, as you can see from the title of the video, Richard Arnold held what has been labelled as an extraordinary meeting by the Telegraph, but I presume that means that it's just out of the ordinary, therefore it is extraordinary, where he held a meeting with unhappy Manchester United staff where they were able to pose questions to Arnold about the club. The staff are unhappy. I've already been speaking about this for a long time. Imagine your job security wasn't there. We'll speak about that. And Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's first interview with Andy Mitten since he left Manchester United. 2 years it's been. And Solskjaer had a fair few things to say about signings. He spoke about Haaland. He spoke about Caicedo, about Bellingham, about players refusing to be captain, about loads and loads of stuff, right? So that's a 2-minute intro, just me explaining everything that's happening today. So good morning to everybody. Let me see who's down here from the member gang. Good morning to you, Paula, Brizzy, got Sky, Benjamin, Malps, you're there, Saeed, Josh and Ant, morning to you too. Amira, Nick, Musa, Natasha, Dynamic. Thank you very much, David. Good morning to you as well, my friend. I enjoy doing these shows every day. I think I say it's quite a lot. Who's on Facebook, by the way? Sam should sing the UEFA Champions League anthem. No, I should not. But you can't help it. You shut a game. You listen to the anthem. It just out of nowhere. It just comes out your mouth. You can't help it. Who's on Facebook? Let's have a look. Paul Crawford, good morning to you. Stephen Lawrence, Matthew Bartram, Ian Cartwright, Trisha Deeney. Good morning to all of you. And there's plenty more watching too. But yeah, of course, I'm looking forward to properly building up the Champions League. There's something about the Champions League, isn't it? There is. There is just something about the Champions League. It's the allure. It's the prestige of it. If you held a gun to my head and you asked me which one would I prefer to win next, I would say Premier League all day long. But the Champions League, she's beautiful. It's just been a long time since we've held it. So I'll run through that, but that's not going to be the first talking point. But look at this, Isn't the Allianz Arena an absolute? There aren't that many modern stadiums that I like. I'll be totally honest. I think a lot of them look like kind of soulless bowls. Like you've taken a print of a stadium and you just put it somewhere else with a couple of slightly different things. It's like, well, it doesn't exactly look that much different. The Allianz Arena is definitely one of my favorite. It's not that modern anymore. It's been there for a long old time. Can change the colors, of course. Big up to everyone who's out there. Yatesy's out there. And I don't know who else is out there. I think Jit's flying this morning, a couple of mates. Enjoy the trip. It's Oktoberfest out in Munich, by the way. Talk about getting stuffed on the draw. So the flights were ridiculous. The hotels were ridiculous. Should be good fun, though. But let's start by talking about the Champions League's traveling squad and Erik Ten Hag's comments, okay? Good Morgan indeed. Yes, definitely. Good Morgan indeed. But this, hoi. This squad, man, my word. We've got 3 centre-backs. Martinez isn't match fit, and Johnny Evans is 104. They're the 3 centre-backs that have gone because Harry Maguire pulled up in training before he left with an injury. He trained on yesterday morning, but then got injured, and now he's not travelled. So Maguire's not travelled. Varane's not travelled, even though he trained too, but he's not quite ready to come back yet. So we've got 3 centre-backs, one who isn't fit, one who is old as hell, and we've got 4 goalkeepers, and we've only got 2 fullbacks. Honestly, guys and girls, do not be surprised if by the end of this game tonight, we see either Scott McTominay or Casemiro in defence. That would be one of my hot takes. It is an injury-depleted squad. Of course, Amrabat's not quite there yet. Kobbie Mainoo's not quite there yet. Mason Mount's not quite there yet. We're going to hope that they're going to be coming back, well, coming into the squad very, very soon. But my word, that squad there is, we're traveling to face Bayern Munich in the Champions League with 5 defenders. And I think I said this on the show yesterday. Some people genuinely were angry that we were going after Sergio Reguilon or Marc Cucurella. They were angry at it. Like, genuinely. Like, there were some United fans just like really questioning Erik Ten Hag. I'm like, you're absolutely bonkers. And this is sort of proof in the pudding. Wan-Bissaka's now out for a couple of months. Diogo Dalot is our only recognised right back in the squad who's fit. And Sergio Reguilon is the only fit left back in the squad. He did actually have a good debut against Brighton at the weekend. Actually, I'll speak about the starting 11, but that there, my word, that squad absolutely stinks. Absolutely stinks. Ten Hag was speaking about the injuries. And it's, I suppose, when it comes to watching Manchester United right now, the injuries are in no way, shape or form an excuse. Because it can't be. Like, Brighton switched 6 of their players and still played like that. They switched over half of their team and they still played as good as they did there. It certainly hasn't helped Erik Ten Hag. And that's, I'm not using it as an excuse. You're going to say that I am. So I shouldn't really have said it too much. But I'm looking forward to seeing what happens when we do get Amrabat in that team fit and we do get Højlund. Because, you know, Amrabat's not started a game for us yet. And Rasmus Højlund's only started 1. I'm looking forward to seeing this United team and whether these signings do make a difference. That's why Ten Hag made those signings, to make the difference. Brizzy, you're saying Bayern B team beat that squad. Hey, look, you know what, man? We've been lower than we have been right now under Erik Ten Hag. And we absolutely came back against Liverpool. This is a bit different because Bayern Munich, I think Bayern Munich haven't lost. I don't know what their record is at home. I sent these stats into a WhatsApp group the other day. Let me get them up. These stats are ridiculous. I'm trying to make you laugh. If you don't laugh, you'll cry. Let me pull these up. When did I send them in? Sent them in yesterday morning. Man, there's too many messages in this group. No, not there. Should have thought about this before I started. Rookie. I can't find them. For goodness sake, where are they? Over here. Sod it. Never mind. Try and go back into a WhatsApp group. You can't find anything. Anyway, they've got a ridiculous home record in the Champions League. I think they've won like 19 in a row in the group stage, and they've won their third. They haven't lost at home in the first opening group stage since 2009. So there's some ridiculous stats. Ridiculous stats. Either way, United are certainly underdogs tonight. You just have to hope. Basically, tonight is you just have to hope sort of vibe. It really is, because I can't give you too much. In terms of positive. Pull it together, Sam. I do. I've got about 20 tabs open. What you're seeing now is the research that I do for about an hour and a half before the show. So I've got it all ready. This is exactly why you need to do that. But look, I'm genuinely looking forward, because we need 2 things in midfield. Right? We need 2 things. We need energy and we need ball retention. You might say the ball retention's boring, right? This is exactly what we need. Manchester United, right now, it's definitely contributing to our injuries because we play so explosively. We go from defense to attack as quickly as possible, and then boom, those quick darting 5-yard dashes, and we make plenty of them. If you hold the ball, you have to make less of them, because you can just pass it through into the attack, and that's where you sprint into that space there. But Manchester United don't do that. We do not do that. That's hopefully one of the biggest differences I think Amrabat is going to make, is the ball retention. Actually, United not being scared of holding the ball, and we can just knock it about for a bit. Kobbie Mainoo will definitely make a difference to that too, and both of them will add energy into it as well. And you're talking about tonight, we're not needing ball retention. Well, no, Manchester United are not going to be going to the Allianz Arena and walking away with more than 50% possession. Tonight is about sitting compact, sitting in shape, and when we can, exploding out from the back. Tonight has to be a proper classic United away from home European performance. We did it so many times under Fergie, and it was the 4-5-1 shape. That's the shape I would like to see United use tonight. But look, let's go to the tactics board now. This is what I pulled up, and it was as I said, it was a weird thing for me to do because like we've never used a 4-2-2, and I'm not saying that we're going to specifically use this shape. But the reason I was saying that, by the way, I've put Lindelof and Martinez in. I think I have Martinez on the bench, and then I have Varane there. Was it Varane there? Can't remember. No, it was Martinez on the bench. It was Lindelof here, and it was Varane. But that's not going to happen. The reason I'm saying a 4-2-2 is because I do not want any Manchester United midfield player to be isolated tonight. So what our typical shape would be, of course, is this, right? We go there. We go there. We go there. Just for all intents and purposes, I'm going to put Bruno out on the right just because he's there. Which may well happen, actually, tonight, when you think about it. Bruno is an out ball up there, and I've got Hannibal there. And it would be... This is how Manchester United have kind of played this season, shape-wise. That there is not enough protection for our defence. It cannot happen. Casemiro, I think a big reason why he's looked so... Let's be honest, he's looked distinctly average this season. It's because he's not had a midfield partner. So we're definitely going to play with 2 in midfield. And you could argue that we might play 3 in midfield. You could see United do this, right? You could see United really pack this midfield here and do this. Okay? That could happen. And that's not necessarily a diamond per se. That's a bank of 4, a bank of 3, Bruno being allowed to be that player just in front. And then you've got Rasmus Højlund and Rashford up here. It's a very narrow formation. And I think that's pretty much how United are going to play tonight. I wouldn't expect us to have much width tonight. I think we're going to be narrow, and I think we're going to try and just burst forward. I'm going to go read your comments down here and see what you're saying. Rashford as a centre forward and Bruno right wing works. Look, tonight is not going to be, no matter what starting 11 we put out, no matter what formation we go for and we choose, right? It's not going to be ideal. It's not going to be perfect. There's going to be compromises and weaknesses somewhere, right? Man United have just got to go out tonight. And this, I don't know what, Erik Ten Hag, you give your team talks, man. But that's just what these players go out there and find a way to win this game. We have to be defensively resolute. And that's why I've gone for this, right? Oh, dear. That is why I've gone for... maybe that won't be Hannibal. Like maybe that'll be Scott McTominay. But I've gone for 3 there. I've just kind of made that up on the spot here. Maybe it'll be different to that. Maybe it will be United kind of lining up like this, right? Dropping even deeper. Bruno dropping over there. Rashford dropping over there. And Højlund sat here. Honestly, I know there's going to be a lot of negativity to this. But we are playing away to Bayern Munich, and we are in an absolute rut as a football club. I would love United to go to Bayern Munich, go toe-to-toe with them, beat them on their home turf. Lots and lots of that. Tonight is not the night for that. Tonight is not the night for that. Tonight is the night for using the pace of Højlund. Tonight is using the pace of Rashford. Garnacho won't be starting this game. I'll be very, very surprised if Garnacho started this game. Unfortunately, United's defence so far this season hasn't been resolute enough. And that's got to change tonight. If we are going to get a result, our defence has really got to turn up. Shaq, no, Connor, how you doing, man? I think Shax, you just gifted 1 as well. Yeah, Shax, you gifted a membership. Connor, you gifted 5. Who are the lucky 5? Roland, Lone Wolf, Layden, Steve Jackson, and Peter Nax. You're the lucky 5. Let me whip it out. The gong. Ah, dear. Deary me. Let me see what you're saying down there. Jonathan, you're saying they're going to kill us down the wings. I've highlighted that as probably the most important. Let me go down to a slightly more better shape. A more better. This is going to be where you need to watch the game tonight. Sane is on paper being their statistically best performer so far this season. Reguilon, I thought, actually had a pretty good game against Brighton at the weekend. Probably the best performer, really. I mean, how much can you draw a best performer out of a game where you lose 3-1 at home to Brighton? Yeah, I understand that. But you're going to tell you what you're going to need tonight. And we saw this against, we did see this against Arsenal, which kind of made it all the more annoying that you didn't see it against Brighton. But Rashford really tracked back well against Saka, against the Arsenal game. I've got Bruno out on the right wing here. It may not be Bruno. It might be Bruno. It doesn't matter who this is, right? Whether that's Pellistri, whether it's Bruno, whether it's somebody else, whoever is down on the right flank, going to help to double up on Gnabry. Now, Musiala's, I think, is going to be fit to play 60, 65 minutes. You're going to have Alphonso Davies on the overlap. Conrad Lane was a little bit of a different one. He played the right back for them against Bayer Leverkusen. Don't actually know who plays there normally. Is that Mazraoui? I think it's Mazraoui, actually. Maybe he's going to play this game. You're going to need to see everybody doing a job tonight. Tonight is the game where everybody's got to do their job. There are some games where you can get away with it, right? Some games where players can just have poor performances, but the overall team drags them through. This team will not be able to drag themselves through against Bayern Munich tonight unless everybody does their job. That's why I think Erik ten Hag will pack that midfield. Well, at least he should. Force them wide and then double up on them. It's going to be, in that sense, it's going to be a pretty exhausting game for whoever our two wingers are, because they're going to have to do so much covering up if we're going to pack the midfield and force them wide. There's so many questions. Honestly, I've got no idea. I'm normally with United's formation, you know exactly what they're going to do, right? They're going to play with 3 up front. They're going to play with 1 holding midfielder, and they're going to play with 2 number 8s. That's typically how United set up. That's too open tonight. So I go down there and I agree with you, Paul. Somebody has to sit with Casemiro in midfield. I mean, it's not Eriksen, is it? Eriksen's not the answer to this. Go away, you stupid line. Eriksen's not the answer to this, right? I've got more pace in that midfield, and I can't run. But I don't know who it is. McTominay, I thought McTominay was that energy against. I thought he was going to be that energy against Brighton, and then look what he did. Like McTominay against Brighton he looked legless. Like Gary Neville said it. Very, very weird. Like, what's your predictions? Like, fire them in now, because we've got a lot to run through. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's first interview since leaving United, and also that conversation around Richard Arnold and that extraordinary meeting. Edgewood, you're saying, could Bruno sit deeper? I mean, Bruno could sit deeper. If you looked at the Brighton game, Bruno was so deep. But Bruno, when he's deep, looks up for the Hail Mary. Bruno, when he sits deep, doesn't just like knock it around and keep possession. It's the Hail Mary from deep. Sometimes works. But, mate, look how athletic that back line is as well for Bayern. Kim Min-jae, Upamecano, and Alphonso Davies. Even if they leave space in behind, you're going to have to get the perfect balls to exploit those gaps. Robert, you're saying we really need Casemiro to step up. That's who I'm looking at tonight. I'm looking at the experience in that Champions League team. By the way, I don't actually think that Hannibal is going to play that. Maybe Hannibal could play out there. But if you're going to play Hannibal out there, why wouldn't you just do this? Why wouldn't you just play Pellistri, who's probably more likely to be tracking back and covering his runner? And that, on paper, then that could be Garnacho. So maybe it could happen. Maybe United will just shape up in that kind of more traditional 4-3-3 that we've seen this season, but it's more Eriksen and Casemiro alongside each other. I don't know. I really don't know about our formation tonight, and I don't know about our starting 11. Let me see what you're saying. Jonathan, you're feeling chipper. You're going for a 5-1. Kesh going for a 4-0. Malp's going for a 4-0. 5-0, 3-0, 4-0. Wow. Jeez. Man. everybody is seeing United getting absolutely steamrolled. Well, not everybody. There's some like Liam going for a smash and grab. That's my dream. That's my dream for tonight. My dream for tonight is not that I'm dreaming about something like this, but like if you saw Newcastle against AC Milan, they were just up against the ropes, man. Like I think they were getting pumped all night long. But Nick Pope had a good game and they were defensively resolute at the last. And then they had a chance to win it at the end with Sean Longstaff. It's not going to be a pretty game tonight, right? Because there is bad vibes going into it. There is bad energy going into it. There are bad results going into it. So this is where everyone's got to, well, I suppose you'll see it. Tonight's going to be a game where we don't have much of the ball. It won't be an enjoyable watch as a fan. But if we do get those chances, we've got to try and take them. I'm optimistically hoping for a score draw. Realistically, United look like they're losing this game. Surprise us all, United. Please, I'll be pleasantly surprised. What else am I speaking about here? Something that Tuchel spoke about this in his press conference. We speak about this all the time, don't we? Because it's so totally true. Like if you take a look at how the press is covering Chelsea's start to the season, they're lower than us in the table. Their only points this season have come against Luton, and they spent over $1 billion. They've basically built like as far as they're concerned, like an Avengers villains team. Not Avengers, Space Jam. Two very different things. Anyway, they spent look at them. But nobody is really speaking about Chelsea because no one cares about that insignificant, crappy little club that's built off the back of stolen money. Anyway, nice team, Chelsea. No one cares about them. So no one really speaks about them. Whereas United scarred so many childhoods. Like we are getting hit from pillar to post. And tonight's going to be a tough one. I'll say this now. If you give me two choices, I would much rather win against Burnley than I would against Bayern Munich. This is not the most important game for United this week. This is not the most important game for United in the Champions League group stages. There are 5 games. This is the first. This is the hardest one. Okay? 5 games? 6 games. My bad. There's obviously 4 teams. There's 6 games. This is the first one. We could still get 15 points if we lose here tonight. Tonight is about just putting in the performance, trying to be resolute and trying to squeeze a result out because we're not going to go toe-to-toe and beat them. Yeah. Right. Let's move on to, what is a pretty big discussion point now. If I can ask you now, we've got just over 2,000 of you watching. Love to have you joining in. If you can, please drop a like on the video. You might be new in town. If you're new, make sure you subscribe to United People's TV. I'm here 10 a.m. every morning with what I would like to consider the most interactive show. I do answer as many of your comments as I do throughout the show. Sometimes you just lose track. It's not easy doing this, I promise. Let's speak about this interview. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer hasn't given a full-length interview with the media since he left Manchester United a couple of years ago. He's just decided to, I don't know. He never thought that the time was right. Now, Andy Mitten's always kept in contact with Solskjaer, and now Andy Mitten has got the first interview, and there's quite a lot of talking points. I'm going to do a lunchtime video today. It feels like I'm going to do a lunchtime video today on this because I think he raised quite a few interesting points. Hey, look, Alexandria, I'm not saying that we're going to get 15 points because we've got Galatasaray away to play. We've got Bayern Munich at home, but I'm saying winning tonight is not the be-all and end-all of our Champions League campaign. We've got 5 more games after it, all right? Tonight is about going out there and trying to grind out a result. Tonight is just about the result. It's not about the performance. It's not about playing sexy football. It's not about doing it Ten Hag's identity. It is about trying to get a result. United have to play differently and have to play smart tonight to try and get that. Solskjaer spoke about a lot of things. And the first thing we'll speak about is the signings that he felt that Manchester United didn't do or couldn't do that he wanted. And we know exactly who the first one was, of course. And he is actually speaking before Haaland even went to Salzburg. So that was when Haaland was at Molde. Because, of course, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer managed Erling Haaland in those early days. And he recognized the quality, but it wasn't hard to see. And he was recommending Haaland to Manchester United at that really early young stage. Man United didn't act on it. We know what's happened since. Declan Rice was another player that another player that Ole Gunnar Solskjaer wanted. Didn't happen. And one of the biggest ones, of course, was the Caicedo one. Caicedo, I think we were linked with him for around about 2 million at the time. Massive Manchester United fan, wanted to play for the club, but the club decided, no, Man United were operating on a bit of a Galactico policy at that point in time, weren't we? That's when we signed Ronaldo back. That's when we got Jadon Sancho wasn't a Galacticos type per se, but he was already an established top-level star, whereas Caicedo was just a raw talent. This boils down to the policy that we had on transfers at that moment in time. And which one of those? I think I know the answer to that. That's kind of a stupid question. Haaland, Rice, Caicedo, of course, Bellingham, and United did try to sign Bellingham, but he chose Dortmund, and he didn't exactly make the wrong choice, did he? Do you remember? I feel a little bit like Arsenal. Do you remember that? Like Wenger's could have signed list was always like huge. Like, oh yeah, we could have signed Ronaldo. I was scouting Ronaldo back when he was Portugal, and I swear, I was just to laugh at him and laugh at Arsenal. And I just sit here and just, it's just a bit depressing, isn't it? It's just a bit depressing how wrong. How many misses can a club have in such a short space of time? How many misses can you have in the transfer market? It's unbelievable, really. Genuinely unbelievable. There's a couple of super chats here. Chris, what are you saying? Last Champions League in its current format. Hopefully it'll be a memorable one for our younger players. That's the Champions League, man. Why touch it? Why are you touching the format? It works. It works. Next year is like some stupidly huge group stage where everybody plays each other once. And it's just like, go away, man. Go away. Ryan, you're saying, did you watch Thomas Frank on Monday Night Football? Excellent insight. His 5-3-2 MIG system might actually work against Munich. Is it just me, or am I the only? I'm excited for the game for sure. I just hope that United have the tactical acumen to adjust, be resolute, and find Højlund and Rashford on those counters, because that's all we got. That's all. Man United are going to be a counter-attacking team tonight, and that's no shame away from Europe in big games. Occasionally, it's the right thing to do. I did see Thomas Frank, and I saw Jamie Carragher. Thomas Frank was speaking on there, and he was kind of speaking about the cornerstones of his management, about, communication and man management. And then Jamie Carragher goes, yeah, but what about your tactics? And I was sitting there going, who cares about 3-4-2 when you're trying to get the insight into a manager's mindset and how he works with Premier League footballers, and how it would have been so much more interesting to go down that path, to really sort of deep dive into that. Yeah, Thomas Frank carried himself pretty well, and it was a pretty interesting person. But yeah, going back to what I was saying there about signings and lack thereof, it kind of falls into the same thing here. Well, actually the opposite, because Harry Kane would have been a Galactico type signing. But the Glazers said, nah, boop. Too much for how much the Glazers controlling Manchester United's policy of what to do and what not to do. Not the manager. And not just the owners. They're going, nah, we'll decide. Jeez. Part and parcel of the problem. But there's a couple of big talking points I want to run through before I then move on to the Richard Arnold interview. As I said, there's a significant amount of actual talking points today. And Chris, you're saying, Sam, don't be sure because Galatasaray. I'm not saying Galatasaray is easy opponents, and they've got Zaha now. They've got what's his face, Icardi. They got is it Ndombele? Are they from Spurs? They're assembled a pretty decent little team. Galatasaray away is probably going to be more hostile. I say probably. It's going to be more hostile than Bayern Munich, and we know what we're like in hostile environments. Anthony, never underestimate a wounded animal, unless that animal is Manchester United. But no, we've I don't know whether the underdog mentality might suit us at this moment in time because we're not coping with the added pressure of we should now be making strides towards City instead of running in the opposite direction. Rashid, Sam, you were desperate for Kane. Yeah, you're damn right I was. Yeah, I was. Mate, he would have come in and... Oh, man, let's not even speak about it. Let me run through a couple of what I would say were key points from Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's interview. And this one here, he's speaking about players, not necessarily player power, but more player mindset. And this is what he was saying. Some players, when he was manager, felt that they should have played more and weren't constructive to the environment. That's a huge sin for me. When I didn't start games, I wanted to prove the manager he'd made the wrong decision. Now, a lot of players aren't like that. Agents and family members get into their heads and tell them they are better than they are because they have a vested interest. It is a disease of modern football. We had a great group to work with by the end of the 21 season. We got to FA Cup semi and the Europa League final. And Solskjaer here just speaking about problems that we know exist, problems that we know exist inside this Manchester United squad. And he's gone as far as calling it a disease of modern football. And I've spoken about it. And no one's saying this is Maguire. No one's saying this is Ronaldo. No one's saying this is Sancho. And Solskjaer makes that decision to not name names. He's not, to the very end, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer will do that publicly with his players, even though they aren't his players anymore. But he will speak about overall patterns that happen behind the scenes. And that bit there, agents and family members get into their heads and tell them they're better than they are because they have a vested interest. It is a disease of modern football. One that I know will fall into that category is Jesse Lingard. Like Lingard was just, remember when his brother ended up being like his agent, came out, and it was just a bit weird. Dean Henderson probably falls into that as well. Like players think that they are better than they are because they're being told from those that they love, from those that are advising them. Which I don't think, I mean, it must have happened back in the day as well. But, I mean, it's such a problem. Like, it's nothing to do with being English. It's nothing to do with this. It's nothing to do with that. Nothing to do with race or nationality. Any mad people down there trying to suggest that in the comments. It's just, I personally feel that it's probably a bit of getting too much too soon. Like if you're on, I don't know, like Dean Henderson, man. Dean Henderson was on like $100,000 a week before he was even anywhere near. Well, he was near being Manchester United's first choice, but he wasn't. He's Man United's backup goalkeeper on $100,000 a week. It feels like if you give somebody so much so early, then what drive do they have to keep climbing the ladder when technically, mate, you're already on the ladder? And you're saying it happened less back in the day because players are more accessible, and it's completely the opposite. Players were more shut off. Their lives were more closed off. So when you did get the opportunity to meet them, it was better because the player didn't have a fear of a video being taken or a fear of something being twisted. It was just like, I'm just going to meet a fan and say hello. Whereas now, because footballers have completely changed because of social media. Footballers have become infinitely more powerful because of social media. Because there is, this is a part of modern football that I despise, but players have fan clubs. Not just clubs, but players are fan clubs. But the players themselves, like Ronaldo left Real Madrid and they lose like millions of Instagram followers. Ronaldo joins Juventus and they gain millions of Instagram followers. People will just follow players no matter where they play. And it creates a massive, huge divide in fan bases, because then all of a sudden the fan base isn't just Manchester United fans. We are now not just all Manchester United fans. Some are Paul Pogba fans, and also they support United because he's playing for them. Some are Cristiano Ronaldo fans, and they're also Manchester United fans because he plays for them. And then you just get these clashes of different types of fans. And it doesn't really lead to much good. Yeah. Solskjaer calls it a disease of modern football. This concept of players basically thinking they are better than they are. And we know that is the case at Manchester United, and has been the case at Manchester United for some time. And I don't know when that's going away. I'll be honest, I don't know when that's going away. I'm going to see what you're saying down here in the comments, and then I'm going to move on to something else that's kind of follows on from that. In fact, I'll pull this up here, right? Because this is basically the same sort of conversation. Did you feel that players threw you under the bus? And he's going, no, not really. Some were not as good as their own perceptions of themselves, which is kind of falling into what I said there. I won't name names, but I was very disappointed when a couple turned down the chance to be captain. I was also disappointed when others said they wouldn't play or train because they wanted to force their way out. So Ole Gunnar Solskjaer there revealing that players at Manchester United, when he was manager, refused to train and told him they wanted to force their way out of Manchester United. And that's why they weren't training. They were just open about that. Man, imagine saying that to your manager. Imagine just saying that. Nah, mate, don't fancy training. I'm just going to leave. Nah, sod you. Screw the club. I'm leaving. It's quite, that's probably one of the most significant things that Solskjaer said. It's kind of saying that everybody's always suspected. But at the same time as Ole Gunnar Solskjaer saying, no, the players didn't throw me under the bus, he's also admitted that players refused to train. Yeah, it's interesting. It's very, very interesting. I'm going to go down here and see what you're saying in the comments. There's a super chat there. Kate, could you? If the Glazers said no to Kane due to age, it tells me he's intent on staying and not selling. Kane would make United better for at least 3 to 4. Like, he's guaranteed to score 20 goals in the league for Bayern for the next 3 seasons. Money. Easy win. It's more the resale value, I think, which is just something United have got to be so much better at. But they decided to stop that on Kane. Oh, nice. But Kane probably would have been, let's be honest, what? 130 million? Something like that. Imole, that's basically what Solskjaer is doing here. They did end up, the concept there that the manager's trying to train them, and they said, nah, don't fancy it, Ollie. That's indirectly throwing a manager under the bus. And I see you rejoining as a member, dude. There's a super chat there from Phil. Let me read this out. This is a Woodward legacy. Paid 100 grand. Think they are first team players because in another team they are. And that's, mate, Phil, our wage structure, our club is so bad. It's so bad. And the problem is that didn't say anything there, just a lot of noise came out of my mouth. I don't know how you fix it. Because ideally you want to put a wage cap on so that you can stop it. And then in a couple of years' time, you can bring it all down. But by doing that, you stop yourself with having the ability to go out and sign certain players. And you've already got players who are on massively inflated contracts for a long period of time. This is why I hope that Chelsea just implode at some point in the next few years, because they've got so many players on 8-year contracts on big money. So I hope they're held accountable to that. But this just goes down to the culture of the club. And Ten Hag has brought in a level of discipline that our club has missed so much. And I'm thankful for that. And I think that's one of the most important things that he's done. But that only goes so far, right? That only goes so far. So much more is needed. Let me see what you're saying down here. Martial was being mentioned down there, and his wages, mate. Martial has scored, if I remember the stat correctly, let me go. He scored 11 Premier League goals in the last 3 years, and he's on 250 grand a week. Just think about that. Before Salah signed his new contract with Liverpool, I'm pretty sure that Salah was on around about that much. And he had scored 30 plus league goals for like 3 consecutive years. Whereas Martial has scored 11 goals in 3 years in the Premier League, and he's on £250,000 a week. That is probably in the top, what? 2%, 3% of earners in the Premier League? Definitely the top 5%. Martial will be in there on those wages. And you wonder what's wrong with our club. We couldn't even sell him this summer because we didn't have the funds to go and replace him. Sue, you're completely right down there. And this is absolutely where and how United should probably resolve our wage structural problems. Yeah, man. How much do you want? You want 300 grand a week? Absolutely no problem. You get that if you do your job properly. Here's your base salary. Same thing as a job that I'm sure a lot of you have got. You'll have a base salary and you'll have a bonus salary where if your team hits the performances that they should be hitting, you get that full salary. That's incentivization. That makes you work harder. If you do not incentivize somebody to work for their wage and you just give it to them straight up, then they know that if I don't need to do anything, like I'm going to get the same amount of money if I put in 10% effort or 90% effort. I'm going to get the same amount of money. I might not get the glory and all that shit. Well, it's not shit. It's what you want in football. But I don't care. I'm going to get the same amount of money. And this is pretty much, it ties into all of this about players' perceptions of themselves, about Solskjaer saying, look, players are told that they are better than they are. And this, I'm going to cover this in my, because Solskjaer also spoke about re-signing Ronaldo, signing Jadon Sancho, Jude Bellingham. There's a lot more in that interview that I haven't covered here. And what I will do here is let me give you this. It is a fantastic interview, and I would encourage you to go. If you haven't, I should really get a partnership with The Athletic, actually. The amount I'll use their content on here. Maybe I'll slide into their DMs. That's the link down there. I would encourage you to go and read it. It's a fantastic, nice, in-depth interview, and it's the first with Ole Gunnar Solskjaer since he's left as manager. So, yeah, the link I've just given to you there, and I'm going to cover it in my lunchtime video in a bit more depth. Last talking point of the show today is the headline. And it's this. This came from yesterday from the Telegraph, from Mike McGrath. And this is what happened. Let me explain it to you. So Richard Arnold, we know, is our CEO. And he held a meeting with staff who are basically just unhappy with what's going on at the club this season. Manchester United Chief Executive Richard Arnold held an extraordinary meeting on Monday to address staff unhappiness over a variety of issues, including Greenwood and Anthony. Staff at United were invited to put anonymous questions to Arnold, which were addressed at a Zoom meeting in the afternoon. So basically, an email went around the staff of Manchester United saying, look, clearly the environment is sour enough behind the scenes at Manchester United that this was required. And that's why it's called an extraordinary meeting, because it's out of the ordinary. It's not normal to put an email around saying, look, have you got any problems with us? Let us know. And it's all anonymous as well. I'll tell you what would have been the first thing that, I don't know why it's not really mentioned in this article, but if I was a member of staff of Manchester United, my question would be, what the hell is going on with the takeover? Why do I have zero job security? Why are the Glazers not selling? That would be my question. If I was a member of staff at United, I'd be like, I need to know what's going on. But on top of that, obviously the Mason Greenwood situation. I think would be particularly prevalent. You know my standpoint on it. No, I'm not changing. No, I'm not getting into a debate about it because we have all had those debates and I think we're all pretty exhausted from them. But a lot of United fans and United members of staff will be asking, what went on? How did it take that long? Why did you all of a sudden just switch your perspective? Why wasn't that always the case? And the Anthony situation, I don't really think there's two. I suppose there are questions you can ask about the Anthony situation if you wanted to. It feels like at this moment in time, United have done the right thing, but we don't know what's coming next. But this meeting was described as a no hold barred, and the tough line of questioning reflects the morale and anxiety around Old Trafford. And it absolutely is the case. Like Lee, you're saying, was probably asked and not answered. Well, you can't not answer that. Staff are entitled to know. Is my boss selling my business? Is my job secure? Yes or no? I know we can't answer with a yes or no. But yeah, that really is reflective of how bad things are behind the scenes at Manchester United. I'm not just talking about the football team. I'm talking about the entire club. Every person who works in the hospitality sector, every person who works in the museum, who works in the cafeteria, who works on the training ground, who works as the groundsman, all of it. Richard Arnold has so much to answer for what he's done over these last 6 months or so. Ben, you're down there. It's exactly right. Paid staff have a right to know what's happening, and that's why that happened. But the sheer fact that it did happen is really indicative of how bad it is behind the scenes in our club. And there's one thing down there from Stephanie. It's that lack of communication. And that, I suppose, is what Richard Arnold is attempting to do here. I'm going to go down and read a few of your comments out. Paul, you're saying, I wouldn't put it past the Glazers keeping Arnold and Murto in the dark too. I do. I think that's exactly what's happened. Richard Arnold would only be told what the Glazers want to tell him. Unfortunately for him, he's the face of it. Like Erik Ten Hag gets so much of the brunt for problems which are out of his control at Manchester United because he's the public front-facing manager. Which is why I always encourage so many United fans to just divert your negative energy in the right direction. Be angry at the tactics. Be angry at the formations and the substitutions, sure. But understand about so much more going on behind the scenes, and that context is ignored a lot of the time. King is saying the staff can ask questions about the players. The staff can ask questions about what they want. Doesn't mean they're going to get answers to it all, but of course they're entitled. What are we saying down here? Yeah, and I know it is. I know that the Greenwood situation is likely the leading cause of this, because I imagine, like, we saw how vociferous the debate around Greenwood was. Imagine you were working in Manchester United. Yeah, it would have been. I don't like using the word toxic, but I don't really know what other way to describe it, because it certainly wasn't unified. Saeed, if you could guess, when do you think we could be run like a football club without all the problems? We know exactly when the answer to that is. Unfortunately, that doesn't have a time frame on it. It's when the Glazers leave. None of this changes until the Glazers leave. It is the culture of Manchester United is a product of their ownership style, their lack of communication. If your boss does something, it will be mimicked throughout the business. If your boss turns up late to work and he's drunk, do you really think that everybody at work is going to be focused completely on the task in hand? Or are they going to be mega distracted by the fact that their boss has come in drunk? Businesses are reflections of their owners. I've run United People's TV, right? I've worked with, big up to Ollie, to Ronnie, to George, to Reese and Miles, to Steve, and anybody else who gets involved and helps as well. If I was a complete dick, then the content would reflect that. It would be reflected in how United People's TV was run. It's how businesses work. And why Manchester United as a business is just not working. And that's why that meeting was held. And yeah, let's find out what goes on there. But tonight, I'm hoping for the best, and I'm expecting probably the worst. I imagine that's probably my mindset going into it. I expect Bayern Munich to win tonight, but I'm hoping that United. No one gave us a sniff away at PSG, and the players pulled a performance out of nowhere really there. And we were injury depleted too. No Pogba. It was McTominay and Fred in midfield. I wouldn't say it was a miracle, but it was basically a miracle. Tonight, United need to, if we are really a team, and we haven't seen much evidence of it this season so far, if we're a team, show it there tonight. Just be resolute. Fight for each other. Go for every second ball. Win the duels. Energy. Subs when needed, and that'll be down to Erik ten Hag to manage the game in itself. Just need to see a performance there tonight. If United come out the back of a really tough 1-0 defeat or 2-1 defeat where they gave it all, but we just didn't quite have the quality to match Bayern, no United fan is going to come out. We're going to be angry, sure, but no one's going to come out all guns blazing. Come out from this game tonight off the back of a 4-0 defeat where players are strolling around, then the situation gets worse. And Burnley at the weekend becomes altogether more important. But let's find out. Thank you, everyone, for joining in. Thank you all for your questions. I think there was a fair few interesting talking points. I think I'm going to go and do a full video now on the Solskjaer interview because there's so much more in that interview that I think is worthy of a discussion that I didn't want to cover here. So if you want to see that, make sure you check out at lunchtime today. I'll be here tonight around about 10 p.m. with the match reaction after United win away at Bayern Munich. Woo!